Ahoy there, mateys, and welcome back to another build video here in Windrose. Today we're taking a look at the Tailor I built right over here. As you can see, it's got a nice workplace and everything, a pretty nice looking wooden building, and it's a nice addition to my town to give another one of the craftsman people a proper place to work. And as you can see, quite a nice addition here around my docks. My bonfire is currently here, so I have more range to use my storage. But yeah, very happy with the results. Hopefully you will enjoy what you see over here as well. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. I am very happy with the results. So let's take a closer look at what I've built. So it's mostly done out of wood. We have a little bit of a straw roof here off to the side, and then the reeds all the way at the very top for those steeper roofs. And I'm very happy with the results. I would definitely, if you have an extra trader, add one right in front of here just for some extra details. I think that could be really fun. We've got a pretty good work area here with some tanning racks, of course, and then a little workplace right in here with some open vibes so you can still enjoy your surroundings, and some room for some additional storage right on the inside, which is always great, of course. And as you can definitely tell from the outside here, there's plenty of different layers to this building. Like, there's a lot of different things going on, and even though the front angle is definitely the better one, there is some different things here as well. We have a balcony, of course, some different windows, etc., to create some depth in different ways, and yeah, create a quite cool and cozy looking build, I would say. Oh, I did forget a beam here at the side. I definitely want to have a beam going there. There we go. That's much better, though. So if you're watching the video, make sure you add that beam going all the way through. But yeah, I think that looks quite nice like this. And then, of course, besides the bottom layer that we just saw, we have like this middle layer where I made like a little living room here with some decorations and a cozy bedroom at the same time. And of course, we've got access to that small balcony around the back of the building, just so you can enjoy some of your views. We also have this deck where you could have some extra storage or whatever you want to do with it. And then we have this layer with a decent amount of space and a deck off to the side for some more goods. We even have a crane up here. And then we finally also have, of course, the attic. I've not properly done the interior yet, just bits here and there. But yeah, we do have a decent amount of space here. We have the crane, of course, to bring up even more goods. And all in all, I think it's a pretty nice and cozy build. Nice wooden vibes. I think this a bit more like a shanty town vibes. But for Tailor, it definitely works. I placed it a little bit away from the town center because of the smell that probably would come from this building. But yeah, I'm very happy with it. I hope you like it as well. And if you enjoy seeing these types of build videos, these showcases, as well as, of course, following along with the whole build, we'll jump into that in a minute. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and of course, feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds you'd really like to see down in the comments below. Thank you so much for all the support you've given on these videos so far. Okay, so for the Tailor, I think what we're gonna do is start out with some piers to kind of give ourselves some space to work with. And I'm not entirely sure how much space I'll need, but I think I'll go for 5 piers for now, and then we can probably at least make it 2 wide. Potentially 3 might be the best. I don't know. We should be able to fit that in here. There we go. So yeah, 3 by 5, because not everything where you place down here is actually going to be part of the building. It's also just going to be the workshop area, etc. But I think this is a pretty decent start here. Okay, so the first thing that I want to start with is actually kind of this market stall. So I think it's going to be easier if I place it down first here on the corner, just for a size reference, and then we'll build like a little wall behind it, which we're gonna, of course, just snap to these corners. If it will actually let us. I think it won't let us completely, so I'm going to remove the market stall. It's more for reference for the size, but I think if I build something that's this big, that's probably about right. Probably going to have to turn off snapping to get that close. So yeah, I just want to kind of place that in front. And I do think we could still have a window in here. Maybe something like this. Just to kind of integrate this. Probably going to fill up these gaps with some pairs, like sinking them down a little bit. But yeah, just this means that we could have like a little marketplace. We could even have like a vendor here. I don't have any open contracts at the moment, but yeah, we could have a little vendor here on the corner, like they're selling some stuff. Basically, that's kind of the vibe I want to go for, and I think it works just like this. We definitely do want to, of course, make sure that we have some of these pillars going up along the sides, just to kind of give a little bit of shape. And I'm actually going to raise this up by a little bit more, and then in between we're going to have a beam going across from one side to the next. I think that looks pretty nice. I think I might actually expand this a little bit further. So I'm just going to bring this out a little bit more. Bring down this pillar like so. And then we're just going to basically build the same kind of wall. But then right over here. There's not going to be a market stall here necessarily. I think one is enough. But then at least the window gets a little bit more room to shine over here, which is always nice. And of course we can still add maybe a little bit of decorations right above the window, just to make it all a little bit more interesting. I think that works quite well. And then I want to take out my stairs, and then right next to this, I think I want to build a stairs that's too wide, and we can just go up like so. And of course, this is the spot where we would build a floor. We definitely want to connect it up to this. And then for now, I'm just going to fill this all in so that we have a little bit of a walkway over here to work with. But we definitely want to build out some of these. I think over here I'm just going to have like a little wall of these like log walls, which are quite nice. And I'm going to raise up these just a little bit more to make them stand out a bit, you know, make them stand out compared to the rest of this. I'm definitely wanting to have a few of these supports here, and I want some proper supports here underneath the staircase, like this. Of course, I also want to have the supports along the side here, and then I'm gonna want to add in some of these beams as railings for the sides of this staircase. Add a few of them here along the edges too, and of course have these railings go up the side of the stairs. And actually want to make sure that this is all very well supported. I think I might even add a few extra supports here just to fill in these gaps a little bit. So I think what I'll do right here is add in this diagonal beam just to be sure. I could even fill this in all the way just to make very sure that this is all very supported. And I also want to have those beams going across that edge. Although here actually I might go for the thicker beams, because technically that will also be part of the building underneath it. So yeah, over here probably want to raise up this beam. I can take out my walls and fill in this part here. We can fill in that part over here as well. And then we have another beam to go up. So that's like this little front bit. We'll work with that a little bit more later. But for now, we have a pretty good start here with a little staircase going on to this deck. And this will also be an entrance connecting up to the main building that we'll make in a little bit, but it also offers us access to this workshop that we're going to have here on the outside of everything. So I think first of all, I'm going to want to raise up this pillar right here because that's a nice support to go into this main building that we'll no doubt have here at the back. And I guess it also means that I want to raise up this layer all the way because, well, that's definitely going to be here. And on this side, I might want to just on every corner of the pier have those pillars. I guess over here we want to kind of continue that same pattern for this part. And I guess this is where it would start to differ. And then we have the little workshop here on the side of the whole building as well, which I think is going to be quite nice and quite cool. For the workshop itself, I think this somewhere will be the actual main entrance. So let's kind of build a little bit of the entrance right here. So if I just go along this edge here, I think a 4 wide entrance probably makes a lot of sense. And then I want to raise up these pillars in the corners just like that. So kind of that's going to be the border for the workshop that we can have. Okay, so for this building here at the bottom layer, I think we're going to keep it relatively simple because this mostly likely will be either workshop or storage or a bit both. So we're going to repeat those same windows here at the very back. And I think here at the side, we're going to at least fill in this one right here. And then this middle one, we might add another window, at least for now. I think that does make some sense. So we'll have those windows right in here. And then I guess to make it all line up with each other, this is where we would have a bit of a normal wall before we can add in a pillar. And now this lines up building wise with where we have this entrance, which I think means that at least here on the bottom layer, I want to have some of these supports kind of supporting whatever we build above this. And then of course this would be actual part of the workshop in here. I think we kind of want to repeat this wall on this side and basically create a little corner here so that we have the whole building down below kind of supported as well. And then I think the supportive beams we might continue through a little bit. Obviously it's going to be slightly different here because it's not all the way the same, but we can add one right there in the middle at the very least. And if we wanted to, we could also add them in here for these other places, of course, just to make sure that it looks like everything will be well supported also here from the outside. And then I guess this would be an inside layer that starts to form. So for the inside, I'm actually going to use these different planks so that they don't all look the same. And I'm just going to fill this all the way through. I do have a little bit of the beams poking through, but nothing too major. And then I actually think that this bit we're going to continue just a bit more. Right about here, I think. So 3. And then this is where we can get into a little bit of a roof, I think. And I think I want to use the hay roof. And we can have 2 of them here at the very edge. I need to be careful where I stand because otherwise I don't have the resources. And then we can have, of course, all supports here at the very end of the building. There we go. If we then take out all walls, I don't know if I want to actually have a window in here. I think it's a bit too low to do any windows there, so that's just going to be like this. It's going to have a small wall here. Then of course we want that on top of it. And I think then here at the very end we can just raise up a pillar. So we kind of just have a nice little work area here. I definitely want to have a pillar over here again so that this could be the main entrance into this workshop. I don't think I want to actually like give this a proper door. I want to keep this open because it's a workshop. And I think what I want over here is kind of create like a little almost like a work area. So maybe what we do is we build like a little ledge like this, so you could do some work on here, and you know, you could come and buy things here. I don't know, something like that. And I want to make this a little bit more supported, so I am gonna build a little bit of a wall in here. There we go. And then I think what we can do is probably something like this, so a little bit smaller, but I think that's going to add quite a bit of character to the place. There we go. So yeah, that's almost like a little shop front, and then we have the supportive entrance right over there. So then if we look at this other side, there's a pillar that we would want to have here just to kind of keep that going. And I guess it also would make sense to have a pillar on that corner, to be fair, if we want to close it all in. And I think at the back, we probably want to close most of this in. So we're just going to fill in the wall. Do I want to have a window over here? Maybe I do. Maybe I do. A little window here wouldn't be too bad, I think. Or it could be a pass through to the other side, depending on what else you've got going on in the base, I suppose. But for now, I think that's going to do it. And then we can, of course, continue to fill in the rest of this wall. There we go. So yeah, I feel like that gives us a pretty decent, like, work area here. And then, of course, I want to have those beams here too. Do I want to have them here? Maybe. Why not? And then I guess what we really could do, just to fill it in with like a proper like work shop kind of feeling, if we just have this here, that already adds quite a bit, I think. You know, because even if it's the tailor, I think some of these things can still work out as just decoration. I think that works. And then probably have like a bit of storage here. Don't want to go full crazy with the decorating, but just kind of to give you the idea of what I envision for this. And there could be a lot of goods and stuff ready over here. And then, of course, out here, what we really want is to make sure that we have one of those hides, potentially even two of them, just to make sure that it really looks like you're actually like making things here. And of course, there's a bunch of other useful things that we could use as decorations here that kind of fit a similar vibe. Just a few like little decorations that you could add that are crafting stations, so they are useful, but they definitely fit in with this this type of structure. And then out here we want to, of course, continue the workplace, so we want to make sure that we add those walls here along the outside. So we kind of have a little work area here done, like this is the workplace where you could add a bunch of storage down here too. And then we're ready to start working on the actual building on top of here. Okay, so for the beams, we can start here along the back. We just want to kind of go all the way along the side here, I think. I want to have a similar bit right over here. And I think just all the way over this side too. Then I definitely want to have an entrance. So I think having a door there would make a lot of sense. And then we can continue the beams along the edges like this, which means that this is going to be like our actual building over here. And this layer, I think, is not going to be too tall. So I think maybe just 3 tall would be enough for this layer. I think. Yeah, that's probably about right. So let's just add these pillars in the very corners. Of course, that means we'll have one here just to make a nice little entrance. And then we can, of course, start to play around with what we want to have where. I definitely want to have some windows over here. So I think it makes the most sense to kind of just have it right there in the middle. So if we just kind of fill out the wall like this, that should all work out. With a nice window right there. And of course, in the opening here, this is where we want to have the actual door. I think it only makes sense to make sure that it opens like this, so that if I do open it, I can still access the staircase and everything. So that's going to be the door. Then over here, what we're going to have to keep in mind is that there's going to be like an addition up here. So what we want to make sure that we acknowledge is that there's going to be like this edge around the outside, I think. And then next to that, we're probably also going to have a little bit of an entrance. A little bit of a way up there. So if we have that, we can add in some stairs to it. They would go up right here, and then there would be another entrance over there, I think. So if we keep that in mind, I don't think I want to have a whole bunch of windows here. I don't think that makes a lot of sense, which of course in turn just makes this all the more easy, because we can kind of just fill in these walls just like this without too much to worry about. Of course, we do have some options by having some extra beams in there, just to kind of dividing up those walls and making them a little bit less bland and less boring. I think that does the trick. Then over here on this side, we probably want to also have a window right there in the middle. I think that only makes sense. And then of course we can fill in the rest of the wall just like so. We can make sure to add in the actual windows there so we have a nice view. I think we will do the exact same thing here on the opposite side. Might as well. So let's shape up this window here. There we go. Add in that actual window right over here. So yeah, this I'm supposing would be mostly like living room kind of stuff, because this would be probably more private quarters, although it could also be the shop, I suppose, because it is still separate from the very top layer. And I think to keep kind of the consistency on the inside, I think it might be nice to at least kind of keep these pillars on the same height, so it doesn't look weird from the inside if you're like, you know, comparing one to the other, which could mean that we might add like a little balcony over here, because you know why not. So for example, we could just add those around, make sure that we add in our beams just like so, so we can actually support the balcony. We want to have some nice supports, of course. And then for, well, the actual supports themselves, I think we probably want to go for the shallower beams. There we go. Just like this. So yeah, it instantly adds a little bit of depth, especially here to the back where it was still a little bit simple and boring. So I think if we have that, it means we can just make a very nice and simple balcony with some railings around the sides, and then of course a little bit of pillars in there just to make it a little bit nicer. And then we can have a proper door to the outside, of course. Then I think for these walls, mostly it's just going to be the same. So there's going to be a window there. I don't think we'll have a window here, and don't think we'll have one over there either. Although you could definitely, if you wanted to change it up actually, because maybe you want to make this side a little bit more interesting, You can, of course, definitely add in some windows quite easily like this. Yeah, if you want to be able to enjoy those views, you most definitely can do that, since we don't have them on that side. Why not? And then, of course, over here, we will just repeat what we have on the opposite side as well. So there we go. We have a bunch of little windows everywhere for this room. And then we have some time. And then we have some time to work on this entrance over here. So we want to make sure that we add those around. We'll add our beams around the outside here first. Then we'll have those supports along the sides of the stairs. We also want to have these here. There we go. And then we can add the railings all the way around the edges. And of course, some extra supports along the sides just to make it all look even nicer. There we go. So yeah, that is another way to get up to the final layer. And for this balcony, of course, I think we also just want to make sure that this goes into the building so that this is all safely enclosed. There could be some goods on here, etc. And it's just a nice overlook on the rest of this area, which is definitely starting to look very nice now that there's a building starting to form on the opposite side of it all. So yeah, I want to continue having this floor around the outside so that we have that little overhang, just to give it a little bit more depth everywhere. There we go. And of course, I guess we could also just add our beams around the edge, just to make sure that this looks nice. And we can do this once again all around the building. There we go. Just finishing this off. On the outside, I definitely want to add in a few supports to make it all look nicer. So we're going to do just that. Just making sure we add them in. I guess we want to have them there and right over here. So yeah, just to add in a few more details for that next layer, we want to just go around and make sure that we have a few of these supportive pillars and beams in there, just because it will look a lot nicer if we do. There we go. So now it is all nicely supported. We want to, of course, make sure that we have a door up here as an entrance so that we can get in and out, and we can still use the staircase, which is going to be quite handy if we can. And we, of course, want to make sure that we can fill in the rest of the floors here. There we go. Just making sure. Awesome. Like that. And then up here, what we want to do is raise up this one by 3. We want to leave another gap over here and do the exact same thing. Then we want to count the beams. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can raise up another one here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Another one right over there. That's how far this is going to go. We're going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side, just to kind of divide this whole building up into nice equal parts and kind of shape up this one. We want to have another one right here in the middle. So that's the shape I'm going to have for now, which is going to shape up the building. And then over here, we're actually going to have this being a little bit of a deck up here. So yeah, in case we want to haul up some storage all the way to the top. So what we're going to do is take out our thinner beams. We're going to go right around the edges here, creating this little deck up here. Then we can of course add in plenty of supports all the way round. There we go. And to really make it work, it's the best if you've already found the pier crane, because then of course we can add that around here just to make it really look like this is used to haul up some goods to the top so you could store them in the attic. It's a very nice decorative piece, and if you want to, of course, you can add some additional details like these ropes lying around to make it more live, some storage on the balcony itself. I just think that always works quite well. Now I want to give a little bit more shape to this layer, so what I'm going to do is add one of these steep beams in here just to give a little bit more character to it all. We're going to do the same on those corners, and in fact here in the middle we can of course add 2 of those on both sides. We can then rotate it around and do the same here on this side and on the back here, just to also set it apart from the previous layers. And we want to do that for all of these, of course, making sure that this all looks a little bit more like it's being properly supported. Then we can take out some of our walls. First of all, we can fill in this side over here. Then I can add in a nice little window right here in the middle, so that's going to be over there. And then this final one, we're just going to fill in the wall itself, just like this. And we want to repeat the same thing on the opposite side. So we're going to have a window in the middle, and then we can just have normal walls on the sides next to it. So just like this. And over here, we definitely want to have some additional windows. So we're just going to fill that all in. Same over here. And then, of course, we can add in those actual windows. 2 there. 1 here at the back. And another one here. All the way at the front, looking nice. And, of course, this side's going to be slightly different. We, first of all, want to make sure that we have the space here for a doorway right in the middle, so we want to just kind of frame that out like this, and we can fill in the rest of the walls. And finally, of course, add in an actual door here just like that, so that we can actually access this little deck that we've got going on up here. And then we can take out our walls again. We can start to fill in the next layer here. And we can do the same thing for up here. And then finally, all the way at the top, you can take out those temporary pieces and then just fill in the shape of the roof here. So all the way up like so. And of course, back down on the other side. So that's the shape of the roof that we want to have here. But if you really want to, and if you're going to add in an attic, what you might want to do is kind of change these shapes a little bit by making sure that we have a way to get up to the top. We actually might want to open this up all the way like that, so that on the attic we can have another one of these cranes, kind of looking like you can actually pull things into that. We'll get there once we start building in the actual attic itself. So yeah, if we add in the floor right over here, of course we can keep in mind where a staircase might end up being, because it is quite a way up there, but a staircase should be able to be made right here. I personally always like them to be too wide, just because it looks a little bit nicer. Of course, we want to add the proper supports on the edges of it. So along the sides here, along the sides there, and then just having these supports come back down. And I need some more wood. There we go. We can finish this. And then of course we also want to make sure that we have plenty of these little supports along the sides of the staircase. I'm not sure if this is actually the best spot for the staircase, but we need to have access, of course, to the very top layer if you want to also build like a little attic here where you could have a bunch of extra room for storage. And why not just build that in here right away? And then of course over here, if you really want to make this look good, I think what I would try to do, even though that this is technically a little bit taller, I think it could be a nice way to kind of try to blend this in. I might have to remove everything else first, so I might have to place this down first. It would be nice if we could just have the crane kind of attached to a building. That would be really nice, but I'm sure we can kind of work our way around it by doing it like this. Because then it just looks like they could use that crane to get some stuff in here. Although I'm not too sure where they would get it through now, because it's kind of blocking the hole. But you know what I mean. I just kind of want to have that on the outside. It's fine. I think it's gonna look quite cool from a distance. Let's take a look from here. Yeah, from here I think it's gonna look quite nice. So we'll just imagine that it can kind of move around, I suppose, so that you could unload it actually and not be stuck with the goods. So let's fill in these walls to begin with. And then we can move on to the top layer over here. We can be sure to continue a lovely shape of the roof here, and we can of course, if we want to, add in a little bit of a window because we have some space, so we definitely could do that right here, I think. So just build this up, and then the final layer like so should be pretty straightforward, but at least then we could still have a nice window up here, which I guess also means we could just start filling in the sides and the roof. I think for the very top roof we will have little choice, so we just want to make sure that we continue this all the way through. And of course in this layer as well, because we did split up those layers a little bit, but yeah, that should suffice. We should still be able to get up here. Of course, we can also make sure that we add in the rest of the staircase around here by adding in these things, just like so. And then here at the very end, I think what we'll do is add one of those in. And then of course we can have a bunch more of those supports like that, and we can continue filling in the wall here at the back quite simply from one side to the other. And then to get started, I think what we'll do is make sure that we have this beam going across the top, so that we just need to do the end bits later. Okay, so I think what I want to do is here in the middle, expand this just a little bit like this, but I actually want to make sure that it's a little bit wider. So on each side, we're just going to add those, and that way we should hopefully make a pretty nice entrance here. I think if we place the pillars right here, that should kind of blend them in. And I suppose what we really need is some of those to kind of blend in the shape in the right way. And then here in the middle, I guess what we would have is just this opening. And then it's gonna rain. I want to rain. And then here in the middle is, I think I'm gonna try that crane. So instead of having it over there, we're gonna have it here, and we're just gonna pretend that it can move backwards as soon as it has some goods. So we're just gonna place this kind of here to imagine that this can move that back and forth. That's just believe, because from the outside, having this thing is going to be very nice, I think. So yeah, if we add these in here, what we could even do is shape it up a little bit more like this. And then finally finish that roof shape. There we go. Which means over here, I guess we could just add another window and just keep it simple. But it's always nice to have just one more window over there. And of course we can also fill in these gaps. For the roofs over here, of course, it's going to be a little bit more special, but I think if we go down this layer, I'm pretty sure we can at least fill in those corners and then those side pieces. And then I guess what we really need is some supports here from this side. So these would go up like so. But then we would also get these additional supports, I suppose, right over here. So we kind of want to build those outwards. It's a bit unfortunate of the rain, but I really would like to finish this build. There we go. So something like this would look quite good. And then if we add in our beams along the sides and course along the front here, we should be able to add in some supports, which I think are just going to be these beams. And if I really wanted to, I guess I could have that one in the middle. We could have these as well if we really want to go all out. And why not? Because, I mean, it's a big little thing that sticks out there. So we want to make sure that it looks well supported. And then if we continue back to the top here, we should be able to make sure that all the roofs are in place. So yeah, the end we can definitely just blend in. The bottom layer, I think, is just going to go into this. I don't know if I even need this. I might not even need this corner, because I might be able to just blend it all together. So if I just take out those beams, continue those in, and then I'm pretty sure I can just kind of make the roof meet up again. So yeah, if we just have those roof pieces in here, just kind of filling it all in. Just kind of seeing where they'll meet. Think like this. There we go. And then with a few little additions, we should be getting pretty close. Okay, there we go. So we would just want to make sure that we have all of these little corner pieces basically that we can work with. So the only one that's not quite complete is down here. There we go. And now if I take out these corners, should be able to meet those up, and then we should be able to meet these up as well. There we go. So we have our little loading of the gears and a nice little attic. So we still need to finish these roofs a little bit. So here on the front with the bit that sticks out, we want to start with adding these additions, of course, just to give it a bit more depth here on the front for both angles, of course. And we also want to make sure that we bring out the beam going across the top. So we want to make sure that that sticks out a little bit. I don't think we're going to be able to do the actual support underneath, just because we already have the crane there. But at least we can make sure that it still sticks out from the very end. If we go to the inside, I think we should be able to do the rest of it, even though it is a bit dark up here. But we should be able to bring this into the middle where it should meet up with the rest of the roof. And then of course we want to do that for the rest of the roof as well. So we would go around and make sure that we can add in these details. And then here at the very end, we of course want to make sure that we have these bits sticking out, as well as the support connecting back to the building. And now I can actually check what I did on the inside for those beams. Just want to add those final ones in there. And then finally this end of the building as well. Of course we want to just make sure that we add in all of the little details, as well as the beams, and of course the support going back into the building. There we go. And yeah, that should give us a bunch of details. Of course there's more details that we can add. I always kind of like to make sure that we have a few of these things that we can have underneath certain windows, just to add in a little bit more depth this way. But you can play around with that and see what you prefer. And I almost forgot, but here for this little side building, of course we can add those side supports if you really wanted to, just to add a little bit more of a 3D vibe to it. So yeah, you can add those around the very outside just to make it look a little bit nicer. And if you really want to go all out, you could of course continue and then also have the roof go further, just to kind of make it stick out further. But yeah, that's kind of your own personal preference, I suppose. The building itself, it is of course pretty much done. So yeah, that is kind of the end result that we're looking for. I think it makes for quite a nice building. It is a little bit different from the rest of the buildings I've done so far. It's a mostly wooden build, but I really like the aesthetic. I think it fits the pirate vibe for sure. It's got a lot of little interesting little bits here and there. So especially if you add like I think the animal like this one, if you add this one, I think that fits because it has a lot of the pelts and stuff. So if you add that guy in front of that little market stall I added, I think that will add a lot of life. We have a little bit of a workplace that you could utilize with some of these workstations, and then have some storage right next to it. You have some options here. I did a little bit of decorating once I was waiting for the rain to pass. We have a little bit of a living room here and a bedroom over there, so there's definitely some options. And then of course we have the little platforms all around it. We have the top layer that you have even more space with a nice deck with some pretty good views of your surroundings at the same time. Some nice looking building. And of course the very top attic where, well, it's a bit dark, but we have some more space for some storage if you would want to. And all in all, I think that makes for a pretty fun build. Definitely had a lot of fun designing and building this, so hopefully you enjoyed as well. And as always, if you enjoy seeing these types of Windrose builds, make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and feel free to leave your suggestions for the next build down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next one. Goodbye.